On one hand, all you want to do is find the thing you can point at about this is where we screwed up.
In a lot of ways, we had like really luck, but I don't know if we would have changed too many decisions, is like kind of what it came down to.
A sobering reminder that you could do everything perfectly and something crazy can still happen.
It's hard to imagine like making any different decisions, I would say.
All right, Friday, April 18th, I believe.
Correct.
5 a.m. at the foot of the Athabasca, and we're gonna see if we can do snow dome.
It just kind of ended up that we got the right conditions for what we'd been looking for, and it was early May, so that's kind of the time when you're wanting to ski some of the big lines on the glaciers, and it's kind of where we went from there. Starting our day, I had my 40-meter rope. I think Robbie had a 30-meter rope, and then Irby had his 50 or 60-meter rope. We're like kind of humming and hawing in the car. It's like 2:30 in the morning, and we're debating on what to take. And we're like, well, the worst happens, and like let's just have it in the bag.
All of us had a radio. We had multiple Garmin inReaches. All of us had all the glacier gear that you needed: the harnesses, the ice axe, ice screws.
Coming up on the Athabasca here soon. The crux lies ahead of us.
We didn't even rope up actually until we got to the first ice fall.
It was a pretty simple route to get up. There was already a skin track put in place, and we all knew exactly where we needed to go.
It was pretty routine. Like we made our way above the second ice fall up on top of the third, and then from there on out we were kind of home free in terms of making it up to Snow Dome. And kind of the biggest thing I remember was just the wind was like ripping. There's 2 points of egress from Snow Dome once you've made your way onto the top of the Athabasca Glacier.
We kind of talked about it, and we're like, you know what? We can just ski past the icefall area very quickly.
And what we were going to do was take the ropes off and just bomb it underneath the ice.
Snow Dome isn't steep. Like, it's a huge green run. My mind was never really on avalanches. In terms of skiing roped, that never even crossed my mind.
And this was incredible skiing.
Woo!
I was the first skier.
Carlos went and skied a little bit ahead.
And then I looked to my left and I noticed a ton of open crevasses. We need to make that decision. Like, I shouldn't go any further than this.
I think I was just literally like saying something to Cam. I saw Robbie kind of like take off and swoop around.
I remember we descended down the little ramp, got to the top of the Athabasca. I remember turning around, snapping a quick picture of it.
A second or two go by, and I just hear.
And that is the last thing that I remember.
And that's when all the chaos started to unfold.
Robbie just fell in a crevasse, shaken voice, panicked a little bit.
I yelled at him like, well, can you get out? And Irby's like, dude, I have no idea. Like, wake up and smell the roses is what happened.
I need to do something immediately.
Tried getting him on the radio, no reply. And the whole time I'm like telling myself like, he's not dead, he's not dead, he's not dead. Followed by, brace yourself for the reality that like, Robbie's not gonna be okay.
There's other things that could have happened, and that's why we haven't heard from him.
One side of you is trying really hard to panic, and the other side of you is like, okay, you need to like be the man now.
I think we looked at each other as like are we calling SOS help?
It's something I've never done. We hit the SOS button, and it was the response was quite immediate. The guy just screamed at them something like, yeah, we have a friend who fell 30 meters into a crevasse, is unresponsive.
Someone needs to go down, right? In order for us to take the next best course of action, we have to get a confirmation of what's going on. Cam, are you comfortable to rappel down? Like, you're kind of the most experienced in rappelling, so it's probably best you're the one who goes down, right?
Irby would have known what to do up top. I was comfortable rappelling, so it just kind of made the most sense for me to go in.
You know, he got set up. We made sure he had the backup on there as well. Checked the system. Almost right before he was about to start leaning in, where we got a radio from Robbie.
And all of a sudden, I've heard him, and he's not dead. And it's the best sound I've ever heard in my life.
When I first looked up, I realized how far I had fallen. The total fall was about 20 meters. I had 10 broken bones and a collapsed lung, but I remember feeling so comfortable. I remember reaching up with my right arm to try to get to my radio, and when I reached up with my right arm, I remember it basically folded in half. Yeah, that's when a lot of the shock sunk in. I realized how much was really wrong with me. I could feel my left leg dangling around, and then I realized that I had also broken my femur. Or my first radio call was along the lines of, I'm all right, but my arm is broken and my femur is broken. At this point, I remember looking up and seeing Cam already set up coming down to me. I was down there for about 4 hours total.
That was probably the worst part of the whole day.
And there was even a point where Carlos was like, do I call his mother?
And so I called BA. That's the worst phone call I've made in my life. I started choking up as I was saying it.
So I was home alone. Roy, my husband, had gone out for a bike ride, and I saw the phone call came in from Carlos directly, like he had cell coverage, and I knew where they were. I knew what they were doing, and when I saw Carlos's name on my phone, my heart did take a bit of a jump. I knew the second Carlos started talking that something had happened.
When BA started crying on the phone, I couldn't keep it together, so I just said to her, I need to call you back. If you start letting the feelings of being scared and sorry and all that set in, then you're not going to be helpful when they get here and they need to be here.
3.5 hours passed, and search and rescue was able to land a helicopter, and the rescue techs made their way down to the crevasse. I got the carabiners all set into my harness, and then we radioed up that I was all good. They began the extraction. It was when they first started tugging me out of the crevasse that I realized part of my pelvis was broken. The extraction took about 10 minutes. That was probably the worst 10 minutes of my life.
When you hear about like people like lifting up cars and stuff, and he's like screaming in pain, like telling to like stop pulling, basically. It's really hard to get like slack back out of the system, so he's like kind of like shoved up into this roof for like, you know, a minute or so while they're getting him slack.
The rope had kind of dug into part of the glacier and gotten a little bit stuck. So I remember having to reach up with my broken shoulder and give the rope a tug to free it from the ice.
With one leg essentially and like no other limbs, like kick himself off of the wall, get like the rope out of this like pretty tight section of the ice to like get up and over it. And I was just like it was hard for me with 4 functioning limbs.
So the rescue person grabbed him, we were all ready, and we were like, go. And so in one smooth motion, we made one last big pull. Rescue person yanked him out right onto the vac mat, and he was finally out.
And then I remember saying to BA, like, he's out of the crevasse, he's in the snow, like, your son's gonna be okay. Like, we've got him. And that, like, I started crying. That was when all the emotion just took over.
Once Robbie was on the helicopter on the way to Edmonton from Jasper, the EMS gentleman phoned, and he was excellent. He goes, you know what, he's doing really well. He's got broken bones for sure, but we don't think there's anything more. And I said, so how do you know he doesn't have internal injuries? And he was pretty blunt. He said, he'd be dead. It's because nobody could survive that long down. You know, it took 4 hours till he got out. I packed up a couple things and went to Edmonton. And Robbie came in and got rolled in after his CT scans, and they were so awesome at the hospital, and Robbie gave a thumbs up right away and said, I'm okay. I'm gonna be okay.
Oh, what a day.